The Galaxy S22. It's like a strawberry smoothie in cafes. A predictable flavor, if you will. But there is a reason it's never off the menu. It's never bad. Now, I'm a person who just can't stand boring phones. And I can prove it. Just look at my list of daily drivers. So it was very unlike me to order the regular S22 and not the Ultra. But I don't know, maybe after using a phone this extreme, I wanted to tone things down a bit, or I just wanted a compact phone that I could actually use one-handed for once. Anyways, I stuck with the S22, and this is my review. Alright, I'm gonna cut to the chase. The design. Yes, it is the same as last year's, but thankfully last year's was good. The contour design was one of the more iconic makeovers since the S8, which I loved. Interestingly, this time around, the traffic lights are separated from the frame and more chamfered. My impression was that it looked slightly more mature, and it's gotten even bigger too. Maybe it's because of this bigger presence, but it feels like Samsung was really owning the contour design this year, and I'm a fan. The design feels more intentional and bold. Plus, the upgrade to actual glass and flatter sides went further on to reinforce the mature look. It was also very comfortable to hold when taking photos. Mind you, that contour edge is sharp, so if you're left-handed, you might feel it a lot. Oh, and you hear stuff when you shake it, which is something you don't want to see at this price range. Samsung's industry-leading screen tech is as great as ever. And I'm realizing this now, but 120Hz on a 6.1-inch screen does make a difference. See, I'm not much of a gamer, and I've always thought that high refresh screens were somewhat of an overkill for smartphones. But that smooth animation made me enjoy using my phone more for everyday tasks. I guess I really didn't know what I was missing. And the AMOLED screen gets super bright for outdoors and super dim for nights. But it's not as battery efficient as the one on the Ultra, if you care about battery life. Oh, and you should. A 3700 mAh cell is just as much power as you'd expect. Now, I consider myself as a mid to heavy user, taking some calls, constantly reading news feeds, and YouTube. And not once did it keep up with my daily routine. With a bit more than 5 hours of screen on time, this is definitely a phone you'd want a charger nearby. Which is odd why this is the only phone from the trio that lacks 45-watt charging support. But I did appreciate that Samsung didn't forcefully close my apps running in the background to conserve battery life. As for performance, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip is as high-end as it goes for Android, with absolutely no lags in both everyday usage and multitasking. It did run a little hotter than I hoped, but I guess that has more to do with the chip. Oh, and GOS, Samsung's game optimizing service, apparently did limit the gaming performance by 30 to even 50%. Now, Samsung has had their bad days, so it's understandable why they're being so cautious. But most of the consumers would have bought into the S22 not knowing this. Unfortunately, Samsung mentioned that a quick software fix is in the works that will include the option to prioritize performance by unlocking CPU and GPU clock restrictions. So we'll just have to see. Next, the on-screen fingerprint scanner is a cool piece of tech, but noticeably less reliable than a traditional one. You really have to put it on there. My recommendation, have the always-on display constantly turned on to show the location of the fingerprint scanner. As for speakers, they're great. It wasn't super loud, but it also didn't get distorted even at the highest volume. To my ears, the sound punches out at you more, while the iPhone's is the more spacious. Speaking of, call quality was great on speaker, and even greater on the earpiece. And finally, the camera. Now, I'm no photographer, so I'm just giving you my perspective here. But really, this is just a very good camera. Coming from an iPhone 12 Pro Max, the pictures were saturated, but not overly done so. And the 50-megapixel main camera delivered excellent detail and tons of bokeh. Seriously, look at this thing. There were some jitters when transitioning between wide and telephoto, but the color sign stayed similar and felt well integrated. The front camera, not so much. And it wasn't as detailed as I would have liked. but it tends to have the better looking selfie than, say, an iPhone. As for video, Samsung's improved stabilization worked great, but it was aggressive enough to feel unnatural at times. Oh, and as for nightography, my city never got really dim to the point that I could actually test this out, but I can say it does a really great job with HDR, especially for lighting. To conclude, the S22 is a very predictable smartphone, wouldn't you say? A great hardware, and with the best software support in the Android world, surpassing even Google? Just like its predecessors, this is a no-brainer. The S22 does feel like the whole package. My only wish is that the package had a bigger battery in the box. Road warriors, be aware. And that's it for today's video. I'd be happy to answer any other questions about the S22, so feel free to leave a comment down below. And hope you guys liked it. And remember to press the red button on your way out. Thanks.